Actually, Chris obviously was there, and obviously the Von Erichs were there at the time that the Midnight Express and I spent 6 months from Christmas '84 to 1st of July '85 in World Class Wrestling. We worked mostly with the Fantastics. That has been documented in my book, The Midnight Express and Jim Cornette 25th Anniversary Scrapbook. But Chris was there, and I was a fan. Chris was a great '80s worker. And I say that because he didn't have the body that would be pushed today, but he was an excellent worker. He was not only knew the British style because obviously he was from England, but also was the originator and popularizer, if that's a word, of the super kick. And Chris was a great foil for the Von Erichs because he had first come in as a babyface and got over as a babyface, and he was in the middle of the first valet angle with Sunshine and Precious and Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. And so he drew a lot of money in Dallas, and you can't take that away from him. I didn't think that he was a worker, to be honest. I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, that would stand up in a territory like the Carolinas. Or, he had a brief run in Mid-South Wrestling, but he didn't like to get hit real hard. And that was a prerequisite of working for Bill Watts. You were going to get the shit beat out of you. So we always used to laugh the Midnight Night because the rings in World Class Wrestling were harder than Chinese arithmetic. And Chris was a master at putting his hands down underneath his bump, which is the first thing you get taught in wrestling school not to do, and which Bobby and Dennis didn't do if you watch the tapes. But Chris had been there for longer than we had, and the ring was goddamn brutal, or the rings were brutal. So he used to put his hands down a lot, and he worked with the boys, and he was over there as a babyface, so he was over when he switched, and he was in the middle of the valet angle, which really Sunshine and Precious carried Garvin and Adams for quite a long time, and he drew money, so I don't have a problem with his spot. And I was a fan of his as far as being a nice guy. I never had any wrong things to say about him, but I remember one night at a spot show, he came in after his match with, I think it was Kerry, and he was bleeding because he had brought a chair in, but Kerry had whacked him with it and busted him open hard way, and he was freaking out about it. And he didn't like getting busted open hard way. And, we were like, well, if you've been working with the Von Erichs as long as you have, you ought to be used to this by now. Because their shit was like a friendly street fight, and that's why they were over. So, anyway, yes, I was a fan of Chris's. I think he contributed a lot. He did great business there. And unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to go to a lot more territories to show what he could do, past his world-class success before his death.